Top of the top. I am out here on my beautiful deck this morning, or it's probably early afternoon by now. I slept in late today. I needed to collect myself, get my thoughts and my emotions in check. I don't think this needs to be a long and drawn out um, video, but I also noticed that I don't ever have the intent for it to be a long and drawn out video, but it tends to kind of go that way. Right now, I am dealing with um, the aftermath of the breakup because every time I get to a certain space where I feel like, okay, I'm good and I am on the road to healing, or I'm back on track with healing, and I keep getting into my head that healing means that I won't cry no more. I'm over the disappointment. I am past the reality of it. There's a space that opens up and is brought to my attention. And currently, that space is other realities of the breakup. Accepting that part of the reality is that when you go back into the history of our people and see how we have generational trauma, it is a coming upon the individual to make an attempt at correcting those traumas so that it won't evolve or transfer into generational curses. But some people don't have the wherewithal to be able to do that, and it's unfortunate. And so I look at him and I clearly see that there's definitely generational trauma that he haven't done any of the fucking work in spite of being incarcerated for all of that fucking time. Um, I made better use of my time than he is, and that is a part of why he, um, I guess, feels some type of negative way towards me. That is the impression I've got during the times that we were together, and these extreme uh, fights and arguments would happen. um, I've discovered some truths, and here's some of the harsh truths. I'm gonna keep it all the way a buck. One of the harsh truths is that he had, once he got to me and discovered who I have become in my womanhood, that he doesn't like me. I've discovered that I don't like him either. The woman that I have become is a direct reflection of the circumstances in which he involved me in and assisted in putting me in. However, with that being said, um, he doesn't like the independence. He doesn't like the strength. He doesn't like the confidence. Um, he doesn't like that he is not able to control me. Um, and so, ultimately, overall, as a person, he doesn't like who I become, and I don't like who he's become either. We are not compatible. Um, Another harsh reality is that if we're going to go by textbook and research, he not only suffers from PTSD, because I do as well, you know, but I believe he has borderline personality disorder. He's narcissistic. He's misogynistic. Um, all of the attributes that is a direct threat to the black woman and her existence and the completion of a black family, or the complete destruction, excuse me, of the black family. He's acquired a lot of those attributes. Another harsh reality is that I made the best of my time. And yes, I'm going to take this time to pat myself on the back. In his absence, regardless or not regardless, but set aside from the circumstances that put me in a position, instead of allowing that to dictate my outcome, I turned the outcome into a win, not just for myself, but for my family. That is the type of woman I have always been, but it helps me realize that he has never really known me. He hasn't taken a time out to know me. And what he knew of me was the way that I operate in love, because I was in love with him. And he took that to be a weakness. He took that to misjudge me. And he felt that he would be, or maybe he probably did at one time or another, was able to control me because of the way that I felt for him, not fully understanding the strength and the endurance and the foundation of a black woman and the love that she contributes unconditionally to her family. Um, like I said, in reflection, although always held myself to a higher standard, and I knew that my situation would get better. All I had to do was stay strong in my faith and in myself, and I would be able to come up with a way to make my situation better, in which I did. Um, but I don't think that he ever known that about me, because if he did, then who I am now wouldn't be such a shock to him or a surprise, and it wouldn't be upsetting to him or damaging to his ego. Um, so he never really knew me. Another reality is that um, I use his absence to find myself, aside from being a partner and aside from being a mom. I needed to find me and figure out who I was in my adult stages, and also how I can be a positive contributing factor continuously for my loved ones, and whatever I could do to make our situation better and make it to where as though I would be able to continue to assist him in his return to society and in his return to the black family dynamic. Not ever, ever, ever. You have to understand, as black women, we do not want to replace our male counterpart. We absolutely don't. We love, and I think this time it's safe for me to speak in third party terms. I just feel like this time I am correct when I can speak on behalf of all the black women when I say we love thriving in our femininity. We love being in the positive opposition of our mate. And what I mean by that is we love to be soft and loving and nurturing, and even in our strength and supportive. We love being that. And so I discovered, you know, who I was. I discovered who I was. I found myself, and he didn't. He spent, and again, according to my research, and now this is personal research, not just books, but a lot of incarcerated individuals, the one of the ways that they cope with doing long term prison time is to find a coping mechanism. And a coping mechanism consists of one or more of the things that I mentioned: religion, physical health, or drugs, which is basically, I guess, coping mechanisms that people deal with out in the free world too. Honestly, yeah, yeah. Religion, physical health, or drugs. And so he dampered and dibbled and dabbed in all three in order to cope with the longevity of time and the circumstances of which he had to deal with, the circumstances that he was dealing with at the time, that he put himself in nonetheless. But that's how he coped with dealing with time: physical health, religion, and drugs. And in doing that, um, I've heard that helps the time pass, that helps the time go by. And during our communication, I was under the impression, because remember, our communication consisted of letters and phone calls, it wasn't in each other's space or presence. So during our communication, I guess that's when he would put his best foot forward. I'm unsure, but I know that that is what kept me believing that although change was to be expected, the worst of the situation hadn't gotten to him. He's I was under the impression that he was maintaining, and of course he would need again some assistance in transitioning to the society of today. But for the most part, I thought that he was fine. I didn't know that he was unwell. I didn't know that he had um, was taking any kind of drugs, and I'm not sure which drugs that he was taking, but I just was totally unaware, and that he had taken up that type of habit in order to cope. Um, these are facts that came out later, which led to me doing more research and just trying to understand. And I tried to not look at him as being a bad person. I still try to have some type of understanding, because trauma in any form, if you don't have the right assistance, it can cause a negative down spiral in your life. So I try not to look at him in a negative, or try to say he's a bad person. Um, but there's also, at the same side, on the flip side of that, there's contradictory factors that make me say he's a piece of shit. The contradictory factors is, I can look at him and say he's not a bad person, but there are acts and things that was said in which he did that contradicts that statement that I made. So when you are having fits of rage and it gets physical, instead of, and you're having these rage fits because you're not able to get your drug of choice to continue coping. So you have these fits of rage, and in doing that, it becomes verbal abuse, mental abuse, and physical abuse, instead of being honest enough to say, honey, I got some shit going on that I need some help with. Or instead of saying, you know what, let me go outside for a walk, let me get myself together and figure some shit out. Or instead of saying, these are the people that I love and that I care about. And instead of being a liability at this point, because it's clear that they love me, it's clear that they waited for me, and it's clear that they still trying to help me, let me explain to my partner exactly where I am with this shit. Because maybe I need to bow out gracefully for a little while. I need to bow out so that I won't continue to be a liability, or I won't continue to hurt the ones that I love and that was there for me. Let me have a real talk with her. You know, I got none of that. Instead, I got different levels of abuse. And I got degrading of character. And so he told all his family and all his friends, and trust me when I tell you, the people that believed that shit or that fed into the bullshit that he was telling them is also pieces of shit. And I'll get to that point in a minute. But the destruction of character came in when he was telling them that I was a fucked up individual, when he was telling them that I was trying to control him, when he was telling them that, you know, I'm treating him fucked up, I'm cheating, I'm this whole other character of a person. Now, I'm quite sure those were the fits of rage because he was unable to get his drug of choice to continue to cope. But it's more than that to me. Excuse me. He was assassinating my character to his friends and family because he was setting up the stage to leave. And he could not take, mentally, he could not take anyone going against what he wanted to do. He's not able to take judgment being passed on him in a derogatory way, because remember, he just came out of judgment. Okay, he came out of judgment with physical incarceration. So he had to set the stage up and make me look a certain way to his family and friends to justify him leaving. Because, let me give you a spin on it this way. We got all this time in together. He did this long time. I've been there for him. I set him up in a positive way so that he's able to help himself and maybe, adjust a little more easily into society. I mean, I just basically took care, not to downplay my part, but I was a support system mentally, emotionally, couple shit, and materially too. And I basically covered the material part because I didn't want him as a man, as a black man, feeling less than, even though he came out of judgment, he came out of incarceration. I figure, let me just put a wardrobe together for him. Let's Let me get him, little hoopties so that, you know, he can at least get around it. To me, it was just me covering the basics to try to make his transition a little easier because I already figured in my mind that the mental part would be the hardest part for him. So I felt like maybe if I could just ease that with little, with material things that he wouldn't have to, it'd just be one less thing he had to worry about. Okay. However, um, he tried to destroy my character by telling his family and friends things that would justify him leaving. He had to set the stage for that. So whatever it is that I did do to help the one that I love, they're looking at him like, "And you just gonna leave her?" Or you just see, they would not understand that the regular human who has experienced love and relationships, they will not understand how the fuck you just gonna leave her? How the fuck you just gonna be like that with her? How the fuck, the questions will come about, questions that he's unable to answer or that he can answer but don't want to answer because he don't want his character to further be assassinated. Like, damn, you just a fucked up nigga. You went and you did this and you left that girl out here and she did this and that. She still was there for you, and then you fucking turn around and you fucking leave her again. So he couldn't bear the weight of that. So what he did was he went to his family and friends and told them lies about me to assassinate my character so that when the word got out that he left, they would not judge and condemn him, but rather put out understanding like, well, I see why, because she was doing this, she was doing that, she was, the blame would be more on me than him taking accountability, you know? And that those examples is why I say that I could look at the situation and say, because he was going through things and because he abused drugs, does not make him a bad person. But on the flip side to that, I can also say he is a piece of shit because even when he wasn't under the influence, he was devising a way to make an exit strategy and not ever man enough to simply say to me, you know, I really thought this is what I wanted, or I really thought this is what I needed, but I'm still not ready, or whatever it is, just to have a conversation so that we both can have closure and an understanding that right now it's not working. Perhaps later, if ever. Perhaps later, if ever. Maybe not. But no, he couldn't bear the brunt of accountability. So instead, he tried to flip it on me and assassinate my fucking character. And I say to people that believe it is a piece of shit because The same people that would believe that shit, even though he is a manipulator, he absolutely is. But the people that would believe that shit that he entrusted to speak with them also know that I was waiting for him. They know how I felt about him. They know that without involving them or needing them, that I was proving my love, loyalty, and dedication to the man that I love. They knew that. So when he's calling or when he's getting with them and he's telling them this bullshit and they're believing it, I am forced to believe that they are also a piece of shit. That they too were just trying to find ways to finally say, I don't agree with you being with her, or I don't like her as a person, or whatever it is that they truly felt for me has been exposed. Because anyone that know or knew about my situation before I started these therapeutic videos, anyone that knew of my situation knew how down I was for him, how I sacrificed things for that motherfucker that he would have never sacrificed for me. And I didn't know that then, but I know it now. And if anyone came to my defense, well, I don't know about that. But what I do know is he tried to assassinate my character before he left to justify his abuse, to justify him leaving. And in assassinating my character, he was talking to people that he knew, that he felt comfortable talking to, which was family and friends. And I'm quite sure that somebody in there believed what he said. And I mean, it's just normal human behavior. You know, it's just normal human behavior. Somebody believed him maybe because they wanted to believe in him. Like, no, I know my mans ain't that type of nigga. I know my cousin or my brother is better than that. So, she must be really over there fucking up, or she must be really over there violating, if he gonna leave because he ain't fucked up. You understand? So I know somebody believed him because they wanted to believe in him. Only to find out later on that they were lied to and manipulated as well. Um, and when I look now, I'm like, okay, I can say he's not a bad person, but it's situations like that that definitely in my book makes him not just a bad person, but a piece of shit. A piece of shit. And yes, I can say that now in my adulthood because I am not the same woman that he met years and years ago. Because when we met years and years ago, I wasn't a woman. I had the age of a woman, of a young woman, of a young woman in the making. But I wasn't fully evolved into myself. So my decision making was different, even though I always made decisions with the best interests of my family. I made those decisions based on the information I had at that time. The experiences we have evolve us into different people. So now I'm making different decisions as I retain more information. Um, and that just goes with my lifestyle as a whole. And it takes me so much as to say that it saddens me. It saddens me. I woke up today and I stayed in the bed longer today. I needed more rest mentally, physically, emotionally, because I realized that I was giving for well over 20 years so much of my resources to someone that I was in love with, but they wasn't in love with me. He never took the time to know me, and I was totally oblivious to that. Totally did not know that. We were building together at one time. We started a family. We lived together. I thought that he knew me and was in love with what he knew because I knew him and I was in love with what I knew, and that was not the case. That was not the case. And his abuse on all levels don't get any more compassion from me. I've been in that space before, but I cannot continue to extend my resources to anyone outside of myself because I need them for me. So the compassion I'm trying to give him, or was trying to give him, the understanding, the support, the unconditional love, all of that I was giving to him, I now need to give that to myself to assist with healing. Because as I stated in the beginning, every time I get to a certain phase of the healing process, there's something new that's revealed to me that I have to go and visit and heal, or either uh, take a good look at it and accept it. And I accept that it is very much possible that I overloved. It is definitely real that I overplayed my position as a significant other, and as a partner I overplayed my position. And that the person that I was in love with gave me a perception that he loved me, but he actually did not. And the reality of that is a hard pill to fucking swallow. And so today I stayed in bed a little longer, and I'm still fighting the good fight because I refuse to let a broken motherfucker break me. But admittedly, I am bent the fuck up. I'm bent. I ain't broken, but I'm bent. And so, I wish you a safe and beautiful day. Thank you for listening. I'm going to part ways right now, finish my coffee, tend to my garden. You guys be safe, be blessed.